I'm Lonnie Ryan for Stentor Media. For those of you who haven't heard of us by now, we're an online business and financial media company. We feature independent news coverage on strong growth potential companies in both the gold mining and technology-based sectors. Today is October 20th, 2010. We are happy to have Mr. Chad Ulansky here on the phone with us. Chad is the president and CEO of Cantex Mine Development, a company currently in the advanced exploration stages of developing a gold mine in the Middle Eastern country of Yemen. I guess I just want to start by mentioning to our audience that this month is October 2010, and the price of gold has broken all previous records. Right now it sits at $1,340 per ounce. So Chad, you must be pretty excited about moving ahead with the Hariqah Gold Project in Yemen. Does the latest price really have the whole international mining community going gold crazy?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that gold really has been one of the few strong pillars within some difficult times of late. As you pointed out, gold has surged past all previous highs to north of $1,300 an ounce. And that really has been an impressive run. It was only in early 2009 that gold was actually traded at only $800 an ounce. So it's really been quite the run. And people around the world are looking for a secure place to invest their money. And gold is maintaining its historic position as a safe investment in troubled times. And of course, this surge in the gold price is stimulating both gold exploration programs and also the gold mining industry. And with no end in sight to the turbulent economic conditions, many are really forecasting a continued high gold price. And some are even saying that it'll be significantly higher than what it's currently trading today. And the projection of continued high prices is, of course, providing the impetus for the exploration and mining industry to either advance the exploration programs or move towards commercial production or expand upon existing commercial production. And savvy investors are realizing that the potential upside from a successful exploration project that's able to move into a production circumstance is far greater than any upside that's occurring in the gold price itself.
I wanted to let our listeners know a little bit more about your background, Chad. When exactly and how exactly did you decide to become a professional geologist? Like most kids when they're growing up, they want to become firemen or policemen or something like that, and you chose to be a geologist. How did that whole thing come about?
Well, it really was by coincidence. I through my youth, thought that I would actually become a physician and specialize into sports med. And, at the age of 15, I was actually giving a slide presentation to a scout troop on a climbing expedition that I'd recently completed. And a guy in the audience, he was actually the assistant scout leader, was Chuck Fipke, who at that point was a very little-known figure to anybody. And after the talk,
Chuck was taking the scouts out on a scouting expedition. Is that what he was doing?
He was an assistant scout leader, so there was a scout troop that I was giving a presentation to, just to kind of show them some of the things that when they got a bit older that they could perhaps be looking to do, and kind of inspire them to some bigger and better things. And Chuck was helping with that scout troop that I had given the presentation to.
So he really showed you right into the industry.
Yeah, and so after the presentation, he kind of came up and said, was I looking for a summer job? And, this was the dead of winter, and summer was an awfully long ways away for somebody that's 15 or 16 years old. And so I said, sure, and gave my phone number. And several months later, shortly after school finished up for the year, I got a phone call out of the blue from Chuck, and he didn't introduce himself, but said that I had a job and I needed to be at the bus station the following day for a job up in the Arctic. And so the next day I started a 48-hour bus trip all the way up to Yellowknife from Kelowna, and jumped on a float plane and flew a few hours north from there. And that really was the start of my interest in geology. So for the next several summers while I was doing my pre-med down in Vancouver, and during my winter breaks, I'd be working for Chuck, either initially up in the territories in the project that eventually developed into the Caddy Diamond Mine, and had started to work overseas as well by the time I'd finished my first degree.
So, like, you've gotten a lot of opportunities to work with some very large projects and some very famous people in the mining world. And I guess my next question would be, what was it like to follow in the footsteps of someone as famous in geology as Dr. Charles Fipke? And here you are working with him right out of the gate at 15 and 16 years old. So what was that like?
It really was amazing. It's really difficult to describe how, what a change Chuck's influence made both in my career. I mean, obviously, he's solely responsible for myself getting into geology in the first place, and even more than that, really showing me how exploration should be done and how to find mines. Chuck is a great mentor. I highly recommend anybody that's considering going into geology find one of the world's greatest geologists to mentor under. Unfortunately, it's rather difficult to do. But he really combines an absolutely rigorous scientific approach to our exploration programs, and combined with his famous tenacity and really an innate sense of where in the world one can find economic mineralization, makes him truly one of the foremost exploration geologists in the world. And he's really taught me a lot, and his influence is something that I'm very grateful for. It's been fantastic.
So we've been following very closely the progress of development of a project called the Hariqah Project out of Yemen. What can you tell us about the general geology of that gold deposit?
I suppose to give the listeners a bit of a background, the Hariqah Gold Deposit is in northwestern Yemen, and northwestern Yemen was really kind of terra incognito until very recently. It had received no modern exploration, and our company Cantex went in 1996 and basically acquired the rights over about 55,000 square kilometers in the northwestern portion of the country. And we went through and conducted one of the most thorough and advanced technological geochemical surveys over that area that's ever been done anywhere in the world. And as a result of that survey, we really managed to narrow in on a variety of deposits, and one of them was the Hariqah Gold Deposit. And Hariqah is a really large deposit. It consists of gold mineralization contained in two parallel zones, roughly 30 to 50 meters wide, with a strike length of over 4 kilometers. So it really is a large deposit. It looks to be very promising. The mineralization comes to surface. The mineralization extends beyond some of our deepest holes, so to depths beyond 200 meters, and it continues to be open to depth. So there's certainly a significant upside on the potential ounces contained in the ground. On an average, it averages around 1.65 grams per ton. But within the deposit, there are some high grade zones, and those zones run at several ounces per ton. So there really is some high grade material in it. And actually, at surface, when we're hiking through and doing traverses across the mineralization, you can often actually find visible gold as you're kicking rocks beneath your feet. So it really is fantastic. And then from an economic standpoint, it's important to note that the top 30 or 40 meters has been oxidized, and that means that the gold contained within the rock is actually free, and that makes it readily amenable to being recovered by heap leach methods, which are very inexpensive. So it bodes well for that deposit being turned into a mine.
So what's the area like? Is there roads in the area? Is there water in the area? What's the general area like?
Well, the deposit itself is only around 100 kilometers northwest from the capital city of Yemen, which is Sana'a. And until very recently, although it was only 100 kilometers, there was no real direct road from the capital into our project area. And so it took us really the better part of a good solid half day of driving in order to actually get to our project area. And so it was relatively remote. It's fairly rugged terrain. We're sitting at about 1,400 meters elevation, and the mountains will climb up to kind of 2,000 meters or so in the area. So it's fairly rugged. And actually, an example of how supportive the government of Yemen is to the mining industry. is that Chuck had actually had a meeting with the president of Yemen a few years ago now, and the president was, obviously very interested in what we were doing and with the Hariqah project and such, and said, well, is there anything that we as the government can do to assist you in developing the project? And kind of thought about it and said, well, I suppose we've got this really bumpy road that takes us into our project site. It takes us forever to get in and out, and sure would be nice to have a better road in there. Literally as we speak, they're tarring a brand new road directly to our project. It literally goes to within a couple hundred meters of the mineralization. So the government in Yemen is extremely supportive. They've realized that their petroleum reserves are being depleted, and are really focused on supporting the mineral sector as perhaps the next significant earner of foreign currency for the country. So it is one of the most supportive jurisdictions that I've ever worked.
Okay, on September 20th, 2010, your company Cantex signed a letter of intent with a Vancouver-based company called Cheetah Ventures, basically to option 70% of its holdings of the Hariqah project in exchange for Cheetah to essentially finance the project through the commercial stages of production. When this deal is settled upon, what would some of the key advantages be to this joint venture?
Well, Cantex is really excited about the proposed joint venture. We really see it as being kind of the union of two groups that have very complementary aspects to bring into the project. With Chuck and myself and the rest of our team's skill set, dominantly being towards the geology side of things, as far as bringing the project through to the pre-feasibility, feasibility stages, and then on to mine development is really our strength. And Cheetah brings to the union, phenomenal capabilities in providing the finance that will be required to bring it through to production. So, it's really an ideal marriage. And on Cantex's side, we're really excited to finally be able to actually have the financial capacity to move Hariqah forward at the speed that it truly deserves. And as good fortune would have it, it looks like we're in for a sustained bull market for gold, and it's ideal timing.
Okay, Chad, I won't take up much more of your time. One last question before we conclude the segment here. When will you be heading back to Yemen to work on the Hariqah project again?
Hopefully fairly soon. I really do enjoy my time spent in Yemen. It's one of the more hospitable places to work, despite what the media says. It's the local people are extremely friendly, and security, despite what CNN says, is actually not an issue. We work there freely in the field without any security guards or any security detail at all. So it really is phenomenal, combined with very friendly people and stunning scenery, and to top it off, some phenomenal geology. So I expect to be back to Yemen probably within the next few weeks. And then, of course, once we have the joint venture finalized with Cheetah, our exploration and studies will be moving into a much higher speed, and I'll be spending a fair bit more time on the ground, ensuring that we're moving forward and hopefully moving into a production situation as soon as possible.
All right, that wraps up our broadcast for this afternoon. Chad, thank you very much for your time. I wish you all the best in your career and good luck in finding your next discovery. For those of you just joining us, that was Chad Ulansky, President and CEO of Cantex Mine Development. For those of you that would like a copy of this interview and for more information on the Hariqah Gold Project, please feel free to visit us at our official company website, www.stentormedia.com. To our audience, thank you very much for listening. This has been an In the Spotlight live for Stentor Media.